They told him the odds were impossible. 2 pilots, 60 enemy fighters, no reinforcements, no second chance, and yet he climbed into his aircraft anyway. What no one knew was this. His engine was already dying. He would face 60 Japanese fighters alone in the sky, fight until his guns ran dry, bring his burning aircraft back through enemy fire, and the engine would fail the exact second his wheels touched the ground. This is not a movie. This is not a legend. This is a real World War II mission that should have ended in seconds, but instead became one of the most unbelievable air combat survivals of the Pacific War. The mission no one wanted. Pacific Theater, 1943. The sun rose over an ocean that had already swallowed thousands of men. The Allies were losing aircraft faster than factories could replace them. Japanese fighter groups ruled entire stretches of sky, and intelligence reported something terrifying. A massive enemy air formation over 60 Japanese fighters was preparing to intercept Allied bombers on a critical supply route. Cancel the mission? That would doom ground troops. Send a full squadron? There weren't enough planes. So command made a decision that bordered on madness. They would send 2 pilots, not because it was smart, but because there was no other choice. Meet the pilot. He wasn't famous, no medals yet, no newspaper headlines, just a combat pilot with tired eyes, grease-stained gloves, and more hours in the air than sleep on land. His aircraft was already worn. The engine coughed during warm-up. The mechanics warned him, "Sir, she won't last long." He nodded. Because the men on the ground wouldn't last long either. 2 against 60. At altitude, the ocean looked calm. That illusion shattered when the radar call came in. Bandits inbound. Multiple contacts. Then they saw them. Dots at first, then wings. Then sunlight flashing off dozens of enemy aircraft. 60 Japanese fighters. Zeros. Fast, agile, deadly. His wingman's voice cracked over the radio. 60, my God. No retreat. No backup. Only sky. The first clash. The Japanese pilots attacked immediately. They came from above, below, and head-on. The sky exploded into tracer fire. The American pilot pushed his aircraft to its limits, engine screaming, airframe shaking, diving straight into the swarm. He fired. 1 enemy plane burst into flame, another spiraled into the sea. But for every one that fell, 10 more closed in. His engine begins to die. Mid-fight, he felt it. A stutter, a cough. Oil pressure dropping. The engine was failing. At 30,000 feet, surrounded, turning back meant death. Staying meant death. So he did the only thing left. He attacked harder. When the sky turned into hell, minutes stretched into eternity. He dodged cannon fire by inches. Bullets ripped holes through his wings. Fuel sprayed like mist behind him. His wingman screamed, then went silent. 1 pilot left. 1 failing engine. Still fighting 60. Japanese fighters began pulling away, not because they were outmatched, but because they couldn't believe he was still flying. Ammo gone, engine dying. His guns clicked empty. No bullets, no missiles, just gravity and courage. Enemy fighters circled, expecting him to crash. Instead, he turned toward home. The engine screamed its final warning. Every second was borrowed time. The long flight back. Smoke filled the cockpit. The controls barely responded. Every vibration felt like the last. He crossed friendly lines with the engine coughing like a dying animal. The runway came into view. 1 chance, 1 landing, the moment no one forgets. Wheels down, touchdown, and the exact second the tires hit the runway, the engine died completely. Silence. If it had failed 1 second earlier, he would have crashed short. 1 second later, the aircraft might have exploded. Ground crews ran toward the plane. They expected a corpse. Instead, the canopy opened, and a pilot climbed out, alive. Aftermath, what the Japanese heard on the radio. Hours after the battle, Allied intelligence intercepted something unusual. Japanese radio traffic. Not celebration. Not victory claims. Confusion. Multiple pilots were reporting the same impossible thing. The American aircraft would not fall. It kept fighting even when hit. Its engine should have stopped. 1 Japanese squadron leader was reportedly furious. He accused his own pilots of exaggerating. But the reports kept coming. Different units, different altitudes. Same story. 1 damaged fighter refused to die. Why they backed off. Later analysis revealed something shocking. The Japanese pilots had the advantage. They outnumbered him 30-1 at one point. So why did they disengage? Because combat pilots understand something civilians don't. When an enemy keeps attacking after logic says he should be dead, fear replaces confidence. They thought, he might be bait. He might be leading them into a trap. Or he might be flying something experimental. None of that was true. But fear doesn't need truth. The mechanics stared at the engine. Destroyed. Metal fused. Oil gone. Pistons seized. They said the same thing. This plane should never have made it back. The mission report confirmed it. 2 pilots, 60 enemy fighters. 1 aircraft returned. The other pilot was never found. The pilot who walked away. Back at the airfield, the pilot sat on an ammo crate, hands shaking, face black with oil and smoke. A medic asked, "How many did you get?" He didn't know. He only remembered fragments. A 0 spinning into clouds, tracers passing inches from his canopy, the engine screaming in pain. Only later did the kill confirmations come in. At least 7 enemy fighters destroyed, several more damaged. By 1 aircraft, the missing wingman. There was no celebration, because 1 chair in the briefing room was empty. His wingman never made it back. Search crews flew for days. Nothing, just oil on the water. The pilot blamed himself. If he had turned sooner. If he had covered him better. But the truth was brutal. They were sent into a mission no one was meant to survive. The engine that saved him. Engineers disassembled the aircraft. What they found stunned everyone. Cracked cylinders. Burned bearings. Oil passages clogged with metal. One mechanic said quietly, "This engine was already dead. It just didn't know it yet." The vibration pattern suggested it failed mid-air, but somehow held together just long enough. Pure luck, or the pilot flying it gently when it mattered most? Probably both. Command's silent realization. High Command read the report and felt something close to guilt. They realized something uncomfortable. This pilot survived not because of planning, but because of courage, instinct, and sheer will. The mission succeeded. The bombers got through. Ground troops received supplies. Lives were saved. But the cost was written in blood and smoke. How this changed air combat. After this mission, tactics quietly shifted. No press release, no headlines. But orders changed. Fighters would no longer be sent alone against mass formations. Engine health checks became stricter. Escort doctrine was rewritten. One near-impossible survival had forced commanders to admit the truth. Heroism is not a strategy. Chapter 18. The Pilot After the War. He survived the war, flew more missions, earned medals he rarely talked about. Afterward, he lived a quiet life. No books, no interviews. When asked once about the mission, he said only this: "I just wanted to land." That was it. Not glory, not history, just land. Why history almost forgot him. No dramatic crash, no final stand on film, no famous last words, just survival. And strangely, history forgets survivors more easily than martyrs. But pilots who flew with him remembered. They said, "If you ever think you're out of options, remember the man who flew with a dead engine against 60 fighters and came home." The most understated sentence of the war. Weeks later, the official mission log was declassified. Hundreds of pages, coordinates, timings, fuel consumption. And then, one single line that stunned every pilot who read it. Aircraft returned with engine failure upon landing. That was it. No mention of 60 enemy fighters. No mention of a 2-plane escort. No mention of a sky filled with gunfire. Just engine failure upon landing. History sometimes hides its greatest moments behind the smallest sentences. Why modern pilots still study this fight. Decades later, flight instructors began using this mission as a case study. Not because of the kills, but because of decision-making under impossible pressure. Pilots learn 3 things from this engagement. Aggression can create hesitation in the enemy. A damaged aircraft is still a weapon. Flying to survive is different from flying to win. This pilot did all 3. The one decision that saved him. Investigators believe one choice made all the difference. When his engine first showed signs of failure, he didn't climb. He descended. That reduced engine stress, lowered temperatures, bought him minutes. Those minutes became miles. Those miles became a runway. What if he had turned back? Simulations were run years later. If he had retreated earlier, he would have been chased over open ocean with a failing engine. Probability of survival, less than 5%. By attacking instead of fleeing, he forced the enemy into defense. Courage didn't just inspire him. It confused his opponents, the wingman's final role. One haunting truth remains. His wingman's sacrifice mattered. By drawing initial fire, by breaking formation, by forcing enemy pilots to split. He gave the surviving pilots space, space to maneuver, space to think, space to live. No monument bears his name, but without him, there is no story. Why the engine failed at the perfect moment, engineers still debate it. Some say heat expansion sealed a cracked oil line, temporarily. Others say vibration locked the piston just long enough. But everyone agrees on this. Physics bent, but never broke. The engine gave exactly what it had left. Not 1 second more. The quiet hero. He never chased fame. When reporters asked why he kept flying that day, he answered, "Because stopping meant dying." No speeches, no hero poses. Just a man who refused to give the sky permission to kill him. 2 pilots were sent where 60 waited. 1 never came home. 1 landed with an engine that died the moment his wheels touched the ground. And between those 2 moments, in that thin strip of sky between life and death, a human being proved something timeless. Sometimes survival itself is the victory. If this story surprised you, if it made you pause, then remember, history isn't made only by the famous. It's made by those who refuse to quit, even when every number says they should. Like the video if you believe courage matters, subscribe for more untold war stories, and comment below. Would you have taken the mission?